The world is a very big place filled with huge countries and giant continents. But if you look very closely at a map of the Pacific Ocean, you will find a special nation made of tiny islands. These are the Marshall Islands. They are located far out in the ocean, about halfway between Hawaii and Australia. The country is a collection of over 1,200 islands and islets, like two strings of pearls. And its ocean territory is vast. This location has made the islands very important throughout history. Long before ships from Europe or America reached their shores, the Marshallese people had built a rich and successful society. They were masters of the ocean. Life was organized around what the land and water could provide. Coconuts were incredibly important. Breadfruit, pandanus, and taro supplied staples for families. This diet was healthy and perfectly suited to the island environment. The Marshallese were brilliant navigators who built sophisticated canoes and read stars and swells to travel. Society was organized around clans and matrilineal land rights. Chiefs managed land while commoners worked it. A world built on cooperation and knowledge, foundations that still shape Marshallese life today. The traditional way of life began to change significantly in the late 19th century. Germany declared the islands a protectorate and promoted copra production as a cash crop. This introduced money and shifted some land toward export production. After World War I, control passed to Japan, which invested more directly in infrastructure and industry. Japanese settlers, commercial fishing fleets, and Japanese companies dominated trade and industry. Marshallese people increasingly worked for wages rather than only subsistence. Traditional systems of trade and community support were weakened as a foreign-run economy grew. These changes set the stage for the dramatic events of the mid-20th century. The United States took control after World War II. The islands became part of the Trust Territory. During the Cold War, the remote atolls became prime sites for U.S. military and testing programs. Between 1946 and 1958, 67 nuclear tests were conducted. At Bikini and Enewetak atolls, communities were displaced and islands contaminated. Castle Bravo, a mushroom cloud far larger than Hiroshima. People were forced to leave their ancestral homes and became dependent on external support. Compensation payments and U.S. aid injected large amounts of dollars into local markets. A wage-based economy grew around the U.S. military presence. People moved toward Majuro and Ebe seeking jobs. The nuclear legacy and U.S. presence shifted the economy from subsistence production to aid and wage dependence, reshaping Marshallese life. By the late 1970s, the Marshallese sought self-government. Negotiations led to a unique agreement with the United States. In 1986, the Republic of the Marshall Islands became sovereign and signed the Compact of Free Association. The compact provided significant financial assistance to fund healthcare, education, and infrastructure. U.S. funds became the largest source of government income and made the public sector the largest employer. The compact allowed Marshallese to live, work, and study in the U.S., creating remittance flows but also brain drain. The amended Compact, 2004, adjusted funding, more targeted grants, and a trust fund intended for long-term sustainability. However, trust fund performance and post-2023 funding negotiations have been sources of concern for RMI leaders. While aid provided stability, the country also pursued other revenue sources to reduce vulnerability. Copra remains important, especially on outer islands where it supplements subsistence income. The government subsidizes copra and arranges ships to collect it from remote communities. The Marshall Islands waters are rich with tuna. Licensing foreign fleets is a key revenue source. A tuna processing plant in Majuro provides hundreds of local jobs and adds value to exports. The Marshall Islands operates a successful open ship registry. Fees from it fund government services. Tourism, dive sites, Watu wrecks, pristine reefs, has potential but faces access, cost, and infrastructure barriers. Ecotourism and reef protection are being positioned to create jobs while protecting the natural assets. Together, copra, fisheries, ship registry, remittances, and niche tourism form the current economic mix. The biggest problem is heavy dependence on foreign aid, especially U.S. funding through the Compact. With direct grants scheduled to change in 2023, the country faced a fiscal cliff and intense negotiations. Imports far exceed exports: rice, chicken, fuel, cars, building materials, making the cost of living very high. Global events like the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine pushed shipping and food costs up, causing inflation. Rising seas threaten fresh water, erode coastlines, and could submerge islands, an existential economic and environmental crisis. More intense storms, droughts, and coral bleaching damage homes, crops, and fisheries. Seawalls, desalination, and relocation are extremely costly, beyond what the nation can finance alone. Migration to the U.S. provides remittances but drains young professionals, straining healthcare and education systems. Public debt from infrastructure projects adds another layer of fiscal vulnerability. The economic story of the Marshall Islands is a powerful tale of transformation over the last 150 years. From self-sufficient canoes and gardens to colonial cash crops, foreign control, nuclear testing, and aid-driven modernization. Today, copra, tuna, ship registry, remittances, and U.S. grants, mixed with vulnerability to outside forces and climate threats. Yet the most important part of the story is the people, their resilience and determination. Looking at the immense challenges, economic dependence to rising seas, it would be easy to feel discouraged. But the Marshallese have navigated the Pacific for centuries, endured colonial rule, and survived nuclear testing. Hope lies in the blue economy, sustainable fisheries, aquaculture, seaweed biotech, and more local processing to capture value. Continuing to manage the ship registry and capture fees remains a strong revenue source. Global advocacy, climate finance, technology transfer, and international adaptation support are critical next steps. Investing in education and healthcare empowers youth to innovate and lead. Fostering entrepreneurship and local businesses can keep money circulating domestically. Practical measures, seawalls, water security, and community planning are costly but essential. Guided by culture and community, the Marshallese navigate toward a brighter shore. The Marshallese spirit is built to navigate stormy seas and find the way to a brighter shore.